Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Driving Production. In this episode, we're going to be going over all the mods I've done so far on my F30.
I'm JP, and here I do car reviews, car mods install, mod reviews, and pretty much anything in between. So if you like that kind of content, consider subscribing and joining the community. This is Driving Production.
So the reason I'm doing this video is just to kind of have a clean slate on the car, because most of the mods I've done to the car, I wasn't doing any YouTube videos back then, so I didn't capture them on camera. So I just wanted to share with you guys everything that's done on the car, and then kind of build forward from there with some upcoming mods. So to start off, this is a 2012 BMW F30 335i. So it has the N55 engine. It is rear-wheel drive and it has the ZF8 transmission. So it's the 8-speed automatic. Most of the mods that I've done so far on the car, they're mostly aesthetic mods. One of the reasons for that is in our almost 2 years ownership of the car, I wanted to focus more on the maintenance, making sure the car was working top condition before I did any modification to the engine or anything like that. So that's why I concentrated mostly on aesthetics. The other thing, from the factory, this car has enough power, or a lot of power from the factory. I know with a few bolt-ons and a tune, you can probably bring it up to around 450 horsepower and 450, 480, or even 500 foot-pounds of torque. I don't think that's where I'm gonna go with this car. I think where this car really falls short is mostly its handling characteristic, especially coming from a BMW. If you've seen my in-car review, I discussed that I didn't feel like it was an ultimate driving machine. So I think I'd want to focus more on the driving experience, the driving aspect, instead of building a high horsepower car that is really just suited for drag or for like straight horsepower. So my focus on this car is probably going to be mostly on suspension and driving perspective, how it makes you feel in the car. Like I was saying, the reason I focus mostly on aesthetics and things like that is that one, they're a little bit cheaper mods, but I wanted to make sure the maintenance was up to date. As the car currently sits, I think it's at 128,000 kilometers on the car. So there's a few things that I had to get done over the past year and a half of ownership. Like we recently did the water pump on it. The lower oil pan gasket had to be replaced. Had a few oil leaks, the valve cover, the oil filter housing, a few things like that that are typical issues that start to come out around there. So there's a few things that needed to be addressed on the car, and that I wanted to make sure that the car is running top-notch before I really start touching the engine or anything else on the car. So the first thing I did on the car, really, I wanted to plasti dip the front fog light housing. I think it's an issue with the F30, or maybe the early F30. The plastic trim seems to fade purple. I've seen a couple other cars on the road or in parking lots that had the same thing happen. So I just wanted to bring that back to black. So that's what I did, just plasti dipped the whole thing. After that, I went and wrapped the V-brace in red. As you can see, it just adds a little bit more of an aggressive look to the car. I think it's the M3, M4 that have that from factory. So I think it's a nice touch. I wanted to match the calipers that I painted red also, so it contrasts together. So after that, I installed some some BMW door logo. It's a nice little touch, especially when you come out of the car at night. You should just see the BMW logo. Super cheap. It took like 5 minutes to install. Another cheap mod, I think it's the quickest mod I've ever installed, is the red push button on the for the push start. I think it just adds a little bit touch, especially with the red interior. I think it contrasts very nicely. It just has this OEM Plus look, and the quality and the fit and finish is very nice also. So after that, I went and modified the muffler. So I kind of fell upon this forum thread about an owner of another F30 335i, and what he did, he just he got the muffler cut open, and he welded the holes and removed the insulation in the muffler. So doing this mod, it brings up the sound a little bit and makes it a little bit deeper, but it's not very loud at all. It's nice because in sport mode, you do hear the crackles and the burbles a little bit from outside the car, especially if I'm going slow with the windows down, you can hear it. But let's say at highway speed or accelerating past like 50 kilometers an hour, you can't really tell the difference between this and the stock exhaust. So it's a very mild exhaust note. So another thing that's been done to the car is that the roof's been wrapped gloss black with 3M wrap. It was definitely a nice experience to do. I didn't remove the antenna fin on the roof. I know some people tend to remove it. I didn't want to go through the hassle of removing everything and having to reseal it on the roof and everything. So there's some areas that I'm sure it could have looked better, but I'm pretty happy with the result. We might end up redoing it. One part, I would say that when I wrapped the roof, I was a little bit disappointed because it really doesn't contrast much with the color, like this metallic gray. It barely contrasts. Especially if the car is slightly dirty or anything, or it rained on the car. You can barely tell the difference, especially with the reflection. I really thought it was going to contrast more, especially coming out with the OEM black mirrors on the car. I thought it would contrast a lot more, but honestly, I can barely see the difference from far away. You really have to look into the car to really tell the difference. Another part that I wrapped on the car was the rear diffuser on the stock bumper. It turned out okay. There's still, because of the shape of the diffuser, and I think there's a plastic trim in the middle of it. It was a bit tough to wrap, especially I don't have the most experience in wrapping. So, but it does give it a little bit more contrast, kind of contrast the diffuser area of the bumper. So I think it adds a nice little touch to it. So one of my favorite mods so far that I've done to this car is the PSM Trunk Lip. I think it makes the car look so much more aggressive, and it just adds that flair to the back, especially with the carbon fiber, the look of it. It matches the paint color really nicely, and before I install it, obviously the carbon fiber weighs barely anything, so that's a very nice mod. I've installed it just by doing double-sided tape kind of all over where I could glue it, and it's very secure on the trunk. I also did a little Canon Air Filter, but like in the stock, just a replacement of the stock filtration system. I was kind of surprised, honestly, because with the stock filter you can hear the blowout valve or the release valve, but with the Canon filter, I find like if I'm in sport mode and I kind of roll into boost and I let go of it into gear, while being into gear, you can actually hear the turbo sounds. So I think that's a cool little upgrade. I was actually pretty shocked that just with a filter, a drop-in filter, you put in the car, you can hear a bit of a difference in the intake noise, so that's pretty cool. And another thing I did to the front end of the car, I did the lower front lip. That's just an eBay lip. It's a gloss black lip. I wanted to go gloss black because the mirrors are gloss black, and at the time I was planning on wrapping the roof. So so that everything matches the car. I'm really happy with it. Obviously, eventually I'd love to have the M Sport front bumper. It seems to be a very common upgrade. But for now, I'm really happy with the front lip. It was $100 something, so I think for that price, it was a nice little upgrade. Had to modify a few things, had to cut a little bit of the lip to get it to fit, but ended up using some self-tapping screws and some double-sided tape, and it works really good. I also recently installed some yellow film on top of the fog light, which is the same film I've used in the Mazda 3 fog light install video. So if you want to see how I installed it, you can go take a look at that. And finally, the last mod that I'll go over is the wheels that's been done on the F30. I think obviously one of my favorite mods. I think it makes the car look so much more aggressive. I love these wheels. These are Avant Garde or AG wheels, the M359. They are staggered, so they are 19 by 9. And the offset is 35 in the front. In the back, they are 19 by 10 with a 38 offset. My tire setup right now is they're 245/35 in the front, and they are 275/30 in the back. If I look back on it, I think I would have liked to go with 18s. I went with 19s because the stock size of the stock wheels on the F30 were 19s. But if I look back, I think I would like to have a little bit more tire instead of having some really low profile tires. So the stock tire size in the front is 225/40. Are 19, and in the back they are 255/35 are 19. The stock wheel is 8 in the front, 8.5 in the back. My tire setup is a little bit off. When I bought the wheels, I had to get new tires at the same time. When I got these tires, I thought this was the closest size or the correct size to have the correct height or the same height as the OEM tires. I realize now I should have went with 255/35 in the front and 295/30s in the back. So what happened is the profile is a little bit shorter for both wheels, but mostly in the back. So the profile is a little bit shorter, which makes the car have a little bit more wheel gap too. So it does affect the style, I find, like that. But apart from that, honestly, the offset is very nice. I love the staggered setup. I love how aggressive it makes the car look, especially when looking at the car from behind. I really love these wheels. So I think these were definitely a good mod for the car. It makes the car very aggressive, and yeah, it really completes the car. So that's pretty much it. That's all the mods I've done so far to the car. I just want to get that out there, everything that's done on the car. Everything I can leave a link to, or anything that I bought that I can share with you, I'll leave a link in the description below. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, if there's anything you'd recommend, or if you have any questions on anything that has been done on the car so far. Just let me know in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer them as quickly as possible. And that's pretty much it for the episode today. Hope you've enjoyed the mod list. I'm really looking forward to the mods that are coming up for this car. I think it's gonna be a great summer season. So until then, I thank you guys so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.